That's right, because your organ and the choir is all up front.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
not
we're
behind.
all up front. And fortunately, the organ is on the side of the sacristy, so if you have to sneak out for anything, like one day I forgot to bring my anthem in, I don't know how, and so I said, so at the time of the passing of the piece, I ran back to the choir and got the piece. Takes a lot of helping hands. So.
How about a least favorite hymn? It comes up, it just fits
Oh,
right into the
dear.
lectionary, but you just have to brace yourself because you just don't like it.
That's a hard one. Because probably I don't pay attention to the ones I don't like. And it seems that Katie, the rector, and I kind of agree on a lot of things. She came from Texas, and so being in the East is different for her. But I don't know what to tell you about that. I remember once somebody said in the garden, and they said, well, you never come to the garden alone, so that hymn doesn't make any sense. So word-wise, I guess I just use that one for an example.
Well, what about like when you play a new song, like the hymn of the month? Have people ever come up to you and said, "Oh, I don't like that one"?
Well, do
they ever give you trouble about?
Not trouble, but they will express themselves. And one summer we kind of did a hymn sing at the beginning and that was fun. And I would have them either write down or just raise their hand and call out. And I think we could have gone on and on with that. They enjoyed that a lot. That would be like in place of the prelude and all. It was 20 minutes prior to church. Some people really liked it. It kind of goes in, ebbs and flows. But basically, I think, and of course, working out of 2 other hymnals too. We have our supplement to our 1982 hymnal, which is Wonder, Love, and Praise. And there's a lot of good modern stuff in there. Plus, we have, I call it LEVAS, L-E-V-A-S, Lift Every Voice and Sing. And one of our retired bishops was on the editorial staff for that, a black man. And this is a lot of the black, wonderful hymnody. And so we have a lot to choose from. But at the time of communion, I'm trying to get hymns that have a refrain that's easy, and you hear it now. They don't have to have books in front of them. They can come up the aisle. They can at least sing the refrain. And the choir goes on and sings the verse part. So, it's just you have to keep your ears open, and I don't think too often. It's more that people say, oh, could we sing this one? Would this fit in? And then we had our parish picnic in July, and we had one of our young men who plays guitar, and we were using some of the songs that the kids had at their youth conference, and so we're not letting them know that we do love them and we want to incorporate them into our service. So,
what do you think of the current, call it a movement in church music, where people won't have hymnals, where they won't have any music in front of them, and they'll try to sing off printed lines off the walls,
We had quite a discussion about that the other day. Said, no, I'm not pointing to me. They said, I want nothing to do with that. That is not church. Well, look at some of your churches that are doing that. We just have such a wealth in our background, going way back. So yes, in some instances, you're going to have song sheets. It depends the type of service it is. We have not done the screen thing yet, except down in the auditorium. When the young kids get together, I'm sure that they have stuff up on the screen. I think one of the things I've noticed of late is having the whole service written up in the bulletin. Now that is good for newcomers who don't know the Episcopal tradition. But when you've got your prayer book, everything's there, you can follow it. So people that know our service, that's not a problem. So you try to have somebody be aware of a newcomer, and they can go over and perhaps sit with near them or have somebody help them. I don't know which way I feel about it. I mean, I follow the prayer book because I've got all my little notes in it when I have to start to play. I don't even need to look anymore. But I don't know what I think about that. At a wedding recently, we had the whole service in the booklet, and if you know that there are going to be many people that are not of Episcopal persuasion, then that's helpful. That's helpful. And sometimes the bride does want the Eucharist and some do not. So I think it depends on how many people are comfortable with that. Mm-hmm. So I can see the purpose of that. Plus, in some instances, the funerals. Mm-hmm. But so far now, we follow in the prayer book. Got the hymnals. So everything's spelled out beautifully if you just read it.
Since you were also, involved with the choir, what kind of stories do you have about, the choir's greatest triumph or the choir's biggest disaster?
Oh, its biggest disaster. Oh, wow.
You could do the triumph first.
I'm always I'm an optimistic person. I guess my feeling is this: when you're working with a volunteer choir, you have to be very careful. I like to think of it as one big family. Everybody in the group has their problems, and they're sometimes very willing to share and ask us to pray for them. And whether we're 8 or 18, we are making good music. So I think when the choir got to the point where we had almost 20, I mean, that was a glorious moment. And when you do that, then you can do more difficult music, and that's a triumph, if you will. It comes and it goes. People leave for Florida for 2 months, and then we lose a good man tenor and a good alto, and then others, my son included, is involved in work that he's been working on Sunday because of the weather and cement work and paving. So he's got a great bass voice. We miss that. I'll be back when the weather won't permit us to do this work anymore. So putting up with a lot of that. But our triumphs, I think, are, and we participate in a hymn sing every 2 years over at Finney Chapel in Oberlin, where they bring in a guest. I think John Ferguson is coming next 2012. And what a wonderful opportunity. These people, and you learn new music. And I'm just always pleased the way the choir, well, I said, come on, we got to do this. This is a great opportunity. And they do. Mm-hmm. They respond, and I'm thrilled about that. So there are some triumphs. We can't be feeling down at the dumps when we don't have many. And they've been very good about communicating. I said, when I go to plan the anthems, we need to know how many we're going to have on parts. Otherwise, we need to maybe go to something a little more simple. But you know what? We make beautiful music to the glory of God every Sunday. So,
do you find these days that you have to do more work with people in terms of what it means to be a choir, to sing in parts, than you used to?
Mm-hmm. Most of the people that are in choir are good sight readers, actually. But I've been encouraging some of the younger kids, like in high school. Mm-hmm. I mean, I sang in choir all through high school. It was a good thing to do. So then I'll work with them if they're having problems. I'll work with them separately. And another ministry is that we do have some excellent instrumentalists. So I incorporate them into the service, like the prelude time, recorder and flute and violin. And so giving some of the young people a chance to show their talents, because we've got a lot of talent. So just use it. Use it.
Are you involved? Are you involved at all in the jazz festival, the jazz program they have over there?
Down at the square?
Down at the square.
Thank you very much. That was not my doing, but one of the choir members, George Frazier. We started that a couple years ago, and we were kind of on our own because we wanted to say we want people to know that St. Andrews is downtown, that we are outreach. Come this year, we combined it with Elyria. I can't even think what I want to say here. And it was a 3-day thing, and it started on Friday night with like jazz and blues, or country and blues, and then Saturday it was the jazz band from LCCC, followed by the Cleveland Pops, and I was gone that weekend until Sunday, and then Sunday was St. Andrew's Day, having the jazz festival. And I've learned, I mean, people that like that kind of music, they're going to come to that. I thought it was too much for one weekend myself. I don't know if anybody came to all 3 days. And I think we need to take another look at it, whether we want to be Main Street Elyria is what I'm thinking of. They're trying to. So, and people were good about giving money toward that to pay for some of the performers. And we had members of the church that, you know, worked to set up tents and get the bottled water, and we needed help. So those things are all good, but I think you also have to revisit it and see if it's worth the time and the effort. I'm trying to think if I'm getting off track when you ask me questions.
What sense do you have that when the community hears the name St. Andrew's Episcopal Church, what is your reputation in the community?
I think it is very good, and our mission statement is bringing the world to Christ and bringing Christ to the world and the world to Christ. And I think a lot of it through our community involvement. People mention St. Andrew's, and all you have to do is be up in the church office of a day and listen to the phone calls that come in to the people that are coming because they need help. And you really have to weigh that very carefully. It used to be, I think they gave out gas cards and bus, no more. The rector has a discretionary fund, and if she feels that it is all honest and so forth, she will probably help out. But yeah, I think we are well respected. And I talked to somebody last week again, and I'm not afraid, you know, to ask, you know, we really miss you and we'd really love to see you. We're just lazy. And that's hard for me to hear. Lazy, oh my gosh. And then I'm thinking, well, that's fine to be lazy, but then when you want a wedding or a funeral, where do you go? Got to get back to the church where you grew up so you can have it. Wish I could keep encouraging. I had an experience once that made me, you know, it was well worth it. I saw a gal in a grocery store who had been a member of St. Andrew's way back when she was smaller. And she married, and we didn't really see much of her. And her husband died. And one day I was in the grocery store, and I said, "Joanne." And she looked up, and she said, "You remembered my name?" And I said, "Yes." So we chatted, and I said, "Going to church anywhere?" "No." I said, "Well, you know what, we're having our Episcopal Women's Dinner on Wednesday night. I'd love to pick you up and bring you," which I did. And she was in church every Sunday after that and involved. Now that is a wonderful story, and that is the way I wish you could have it all the time with people. But I'm only one, and I mean there are other people that are doing as much as they can too. Making calls, seeing people. I don't know what the answer is, except trying to set a good example.
I don't think you said how big is the church? How many families belong to the church?
I wish that I had written that down, because it isn't like it used to be. And I was remembering, I wrote something down. Well, I think maybe we went over I think 200 people, but our attendance on Sunday is 80. It's tough. Then you have, as they call them, the E&Cs, or the C&Es, you know, come Christmas and Easter. So we just keep working at it, but the people that are involved are really excited, trying new things, looking ahead, keeping with the use of the building. We've got a lot to think about with, I keep thinking of this church and the organ. That's Jackie and I have talked about a lot. And when I played, I think it was a funeral, and I was warned, this doesn't work, do the best you can. But they since have done something about it. And these are treasures. And you have to keep it up like you have to keep up your body. If you don't take care of your body, you might be in trouble. And you can't wait till something is so far gone that you have to pump in. And then they'll say, oh, we'll get rid of it and get another one. That happened at our church. I wasn't around at the time. They wanted to take that organ out and get an electronic organ. Never. It didn't happen. The congregation wouldn't go for it. The vestry wouldn't go for it. So, whew.
What are your big plans for this coming Advent and Christmas in terms of music?
Well, we have a meeting tonight, and I think we'll be putting it all to bed tonight and finding out what. We always have at Christmas Eve, we have a 5 o'clock service where the children will sing, and kind of been calling that the family service. A lot of them love to come to that because they're finished, and then they've got the whole evening. And then at 10:30 we have what we call the carol service, and that combines with choir singing some of the lovely anthems plus instrumental music. And then 11 o'clock we have our big service, which is pretty well attended still, depending on the snowfall. And we try new things. Yesterday was kind of neat because as we were thinking of All Saints Day, we had votives all about the church that were lit, and then you could bring in a picture of somebody that was very special in your life, perhaps to help you in your religious life. Somebody that meant, and they put them on the piano, and if they wanted to say something about them or write a little something, all these were over on the grand piano. It was very meaningful. People love bringing pictures of grandpas and grandmas and people that meant a lot in their life. So Katie's always, adding little things here and there. It's fun.
Is there anything else you would like to tell us about the church?
Well, I'm just glad I could do this and hope that I'm doing what you wanted me to do.
Yes, absolutely.
Suddenly, Jackie, I don't think I have any problem talking. Except what happens many times, you get off on a tangent because one thing, that made me think of that. So does this help you?
Very much.
Very much, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.